Welcome, wanderers. Right now, going to read Henry IV, King Henry IV, Part 1. And to the King, Lord John of Lancaster, Earl of Westmoreland, with others. And the King says, So shaken as we are, so wan with care, find we a time for frighted peace to pant, and breathe short-winded accents of new broils to be commenced in strands afar remote. I love the way that starts out. The way Shakespeare, just the rhythm of it, and breathe short-winded accents of new broils to be commenced in strands afar remote. You hear the rhythm of it? No more the thirsty entrance of this soil shall daub her lips with her own children's blood. No more shall trenching war channel her fields, nor bruise her flowerets with the armed hoofs of hostile paces. Those opposed eyes which, like the meteors of a troubled heaven, all of one nature, of one substance bred, did lately meet in the intestine shock and furious close of civil butchery, shall now, in mutual well-beseeming ranks, march all one way, and be no more opposed against acquaintance, kindred, and allies. The edge of war, like an ill-sheathed knife, no more shall cut his master. It's a beautiful set of lines there. The edge of war, like an ill-sheathed knife, no more shall cut his master. And then he goes on to say a few things about going on a crusade. And then he says, and bootless 'tis to tell you we will go, meaning to the crusade in the Holy Land. Therefore we meet not now. I guess what he means is that we meet not on that issue, not now. Then, let me hear of you, my gentle cousin Westmoreland. Westmoreland is another nobleman, some nobleman that's in the king's entourage. What yesternight our council did decree in forwarding this dear expedience. Westmoreland here is, this is not a comedy, but I always found it a little comical about whenever the assistant right-hand man number 2 has to give bad news to the boss, to the king, someone's important, someone who has a lot of power over him, the power of life and death. I always find that kind of funny. Westmoreland says, my liege, this haste was hot in question. He says, my liege, this haste was hot in question, and many limits of the charge set down, but yes, tonight. And there you have again that rhythm, that, and many limits of the charge set down, but yes, tonight. When all athwart there came a post from Wales, loaden with heavy news, whose worst was that the noble Mortimer is another nobleman, I guess, leading the men of Herefordshire to fight against the irregular and wild Glendower. Glendower is the great and legendary Welsh leader. Wales is on the same island as England, but it's a separate nation, and England and Wales are often at war, as they are in this play. Was by the rude hands of that Welshman taken, that Welshman meaning Glendower, 1,000 of his people butchered, upon whose dead corpse there was such misuse, such beastly, shameless transformation by those Welsh women done, as may not be without much shame retold or spoken of. And the king hears this, and he says, it seems then that the tidings of this broil break off our business for the Holy Land. Right? I guess we're not going through with that business. King Henry IV is a very practical kind of a leader. He doesn't waste time worrying about things that he can't control. When he gets bad news, he just thinks, okay, let's just do whatever the next thing is that we have to do here. And Westmoreland goes on, and he says, "This matched with other did, my gracious lord, for more uneven and unwelcome news." I love the way he says it. For more, it was before he says, loaded with heavy news, and now he says, for more uneven and unwelcome news came from the north, and thus it did import on Holy Rood Day the gallant Hotspur there. Hotspur, he says, young Harry Percy. Hotspur is the son of the Earl of Northumberland, who's another nobleman. His son, Harry Percy, is a great warrior. He's very good in battle, but he has a nickname Hotspur because he's, as we'll see, he has a bad temper and he's impulsive, and he just likes to pick fights with people and get into fights, and we'll throughout this play we'll see how that name is very appropriate for him. The gallant Hotspur there, young Harry Percy, and brave Archibald, the ever valiant and approved Scot. So Hotspur was fighting with the Scots now, at Humbleton met, where they did spend a sad and bloody hour, as by the discharge of their artillery, and shape of likelihood the news was told, for he that brought them, in the very heat and pride of their contention, did take horse, uncertain of the issue anyway. And the king hears this, and then he turns to someone else who's there. He says, "Here is a dear, a true industrious friend, Sir Walter Blount, new lighted from his horse, stained with the variation of each soil, betwixt that Humbleton and this seat of ours." This is an interesting observation that Shakespeare has made, that if someone was traveling by horse over a long distance, the rider, probably both the horse and the rider, would be stained with different types of soil. So you could actually look at their clothes and see that they have the different types of soil that you encounter when you're riding through these different places. So this is probably something that Shakespeare noticed probably pretty early on in his life, and he's kept this in his memory until this very moment where he found it useful to put in his plays. One of the many things I love about Shakespeare is that you find the way he describes things is probably some observation that he noticed about life, about people, about just the physical world, and he just finds the perfect place to use it. But there's something about it that suggests that he didn't just notice this now, that it's something that's been in his memory all this time. "And he hath brought us smooth and welcome news," right? Not uneven and unwelcome, but smooth and welcome news. "The Earl of Douglas is discomfited. 10,000 bold Scots, 22 knights, balked in their own blood did Sir Walter see," Sir Walter Blount that is, "on Humbleton's plains. Of prisoners, Hotspur took Murdoch, Earl of Fife, and eldest son, to Beaton Douglas, and the Earl of Athol, of Moray, Angus, and Menteith. And is this not an honourable spoil, a gallant prize? Ha, cousin, is it not?" He calls him cousin probably because they're related. There might be it's probably a family tree somewhere. I've always had a hard time understanding family trees. The ever valiant and the... Right, so in other words, Westmoreland didn't know what happened between this battle between Hotspur and brave Archibald, but Sir Walter Blount says the Earl of Douglas is discomfited. So the Earl of Douglas must be a leader of the Scots, and he's discomfited because 10,000 bold Scots, 22 knights, balked in their own blood, so they did die, did Sir Walter see on Humbleton's plains. Of prisoners, Hotspur took. So Hotspur won the battle. Murdoch, Earl of Fife, right? Fife is, if you remember from the play Macbeth, the Thane of Fife was, I think that was Macduff. Anyway, Fife is a place in Scotland. And eldest son to Beaton Douglas. Oh, I see. So the Murdoch, Earl of Fife, is the Earl of Douglas's eldest son, and the Earl of Athol, of Moray, Angus, and Menteith. And is this not an honourable spoil, a gallant prize? Ha, cousin, is it not? And Westmoreland admits it is, in faith, it is a conquest for a prince to boast of. And the king now switches to something else. He says, yeah, there thou makest me sad and makest me sin, in envy that my lord Northumberland should be the father to so blessed a son who is the theme of honor's tongue, amongst a grove, the very straightest plant, who is sweet fortune's minion and her pride, whilst I, by looking on the praise of him, see right and dishonor stain the brow of my young Harry. Oh, that it could be proved that some night-tripping fairy had exchanged in cradle clothes our children where they lay, and called mine Percy his Plantagenet. Probably supposed to pronounce that Plantagenet, but I like to say Plantagenet because it rhymes with lay. Then would I have his Harry, and he mine. The Plantagenets, or Plantagenets, were the royal dynasty that ruled England at this point in their history. This is around the year 1400, 1401, something like that. And so King Henry, he's the Plantagenets, and Percy is this Hotspur. And so he has a son, King Henry that is, has a son also named Henry, called Harry. And so you've got Harry Percy, or Henry Percy, or Harry Percy, and Harry, the son of the king. And he's saying, oh, if only, like, I had that Harry, and he had mine. It's a pretty harsh statement. He obviously thinks very highly of this Hotspur, at least from the way he's talking here. But then he says, but let him from my thoughts. What think you cause, it's short for cousin, of this young Percy's pride? The prisoners which he in this adventure hath surprised to his own use he keeps, and sends me word I shall have none but Murdoch, Earl of Fife. It took me several years to figure out what exactly was going on here. Apparently, Hotspur, he captures the Earl of Fife and also a whole bunch of prisoners, and he's supposed to give those to the king, tender those, the Earl of Fife and the prisoners, to the king, so the king can ransom them. That is, say, okay, I will give them back to you, the Earl of Douglas or whoever's in charge of this of Scotland, but you have to pay me a bunch of money. So this is an argument about money. But Hotspur, apparently, to his own use he keeps these prisoners. So it means that he's going to ransom them and get the money for them, and sends me word I shall have none but Murdoch, Earl of Fife. So the king will get this Murdoch, Earl of Fife, to ransom, but not all of the prisoners, all the other prisoners. And I guess this is something that's a breach of protocol in this world of kings and noblemen. And Westmoreland says, I love these lines here. This is his uncle's teaching. This is Worcester, malevolent to you in all aspects, which makes him prune himself and bristle up the crest of youth against your dignity. Worcester is the uncle of Hotspur, so it's the Earl of Northumberland's brother. Worcester is the Earl of Worcester. I don't know what his actual name is. It doesn't really matter. And Westmoreland is saying that this is Worcester's doing, because he says malevolent to you in all aspects, meaning he hates you, which makes him prune himself and bristle up the crest of youth against your dignity. I love this line here because I think it has a lot of resonance with the times of today, where you often see, no matter what the political side or political issue,